Contrary to mainstream press focus on civil wars, most of the migration, i.e. 90% into the UK, has been purely economic, which also includes to study, many of whom turn out to be bogus students who instead here to work illegally and for permanent settlement. This illustrates why 60% of all new jobs created have gone to migrant workers, most of whom will be claiming in-work benefits such as tax credits, which typically means that for every pound a low-income migrant family earns, then they tend to receive an equal or greater amount in benefits, as the following example illustrates, of a family of 6 with both parents working for minimum wage, i.e. each earning about 8k per annum. So a family of 6 with both parents working will receive approximately 22k in benefits on top of their 16k of earnings, for a total income of 38k. However, on top of this will be in receipt of services of at least 25k per annum. For instance, school places cost 5k each and healthcare is likely to cost on average 5k. This illustrates the magnitude of what to all intents and purposes is a type of fraud being perpetrated on British taxpayers, as most migrant workers tend to take far more in benefits than they actually receive in wages, whilst paying virtually no taxes. Whilst a 3-child family would receive approximately 18.5k in work benefits and a 2-child family about 15k, which makes a mockery of the claims of hard-working migrant families contributing more than they take, which is just not true. And this does not include benefits taken by non-working migrant families that are capped at 20k per annum outside of London. And it should be noted that the official ONS statistics exclude illegal immigration. The ONS made the following statement in response to a request for statistics on illegal immigration. By its very nature, it is impossible to quantify accurately the number of people who are in the country illegally. For this reason, ONS does not produce estimates on the size of an illegal migrant population. Whilst my early analysis of April 2015 estimated illegal immigration of at least 800,000, which would translate into an average annual net migration being between 15% and 20% higher, rather than net migration of 333k. Instead, it's probably already running at over 400k per annum, and this is before the Nino discrepancies taken into account, which I covered in my previous video. In terms of the impact of out of control EU immigration on Britain's housing market, then Channel 4's series How to Get a Council House has done an excellent job of demonstrating the real world impact of the housing crisis, of how the mass migration statistics translate into real world examples of what is taking place right across Britain. In a recent episode that's still available online, once more demonstrates how out of control EU migration is having a disastrous impact on Britain's housing market. For instance, a Romanian family of 7, 2 adults and 5 children, are shown arriving into the UK at Hounslow's housing department and then demanding that they be housed, and after toing and froing for a couple of weeks for the cameras, are then within those 2 weeks housed in a 4-bedroom house in Birmingham at a cost to the taxpayer of £750 per month, and in total will likely be in receipt of over 60k in benefits per year, which includes 25k for schooling 5 children. The episode continues with other recent migrants, such as including a single adult from Bermuda who are expected to be housed, and a family of 3 from Poland and Africa, again expecting to be housed and granted housing by the end of the episode. The reality is apparent. Eastern Europeans know exactly what they are doing to jump the housing queue so as to achieve what British people are unable to, despite waiting for literally decades on worthless waiting lists. So when people say that migrants are being given priority over British people, well, it's true for EU migrant families at least. For being homeless with children means that they are treated as a priority case, which is why the housing waiting list that British people have been patiently sat on for 20 plus years, waiting to be rehoused or frozen. And if Brits make themselves homeless so as to put pressure on the council, and the council tends to turn around and inform them that they cannot be helped because they have intentionally made themselves homeless, whilst virtually all Europeans migrating to Britain with children are being given housing within 2 to 4 weeks. And this is the nature of Britain's decade-long building housing crisis that has long since passed the critical point against which what remains madness is for an unsustainable business as usual. I've covered the consequences of out of control immigration on Britain's housing market many times over the years, as illustrated by this video on the London housing market crisis. EU referendum forecast. And here is my forecast conclusion after over a year's analysis comprising well over 120 articles and over a dozen videos, which is for a Leave victory on 23rd of June of 51.3% against 48.7%, a winning margin of just 1.5%. But to achieve this victory, then all Brexiteers need to further intensify their efforts, because as things stand today, Remain is probably just marginally ahead, with less than 1% between Remain and Leave, on an estimated 50.4% for Remain against 49.6% for Leave. So there is still a lot of hard work to be done in these last few days to achieve a Leave Brexit outcome. Do see the forecast analysis at the linked article, and also consider supporting our Brexit campaign in this final push towards June 23rd. For more on the immigration crisis, see my next video in this series that explains why world population growth means things are going to get a lot worse. Also subscribe to this YouTube channel to be notified of new videos in this series.